There's a beach on Earth where stepping onto the sand can be illegal. Not because it's dangerous, because we are. Out there is North Sentinel Island, quiet, green, and completely off limits, a place the modern world is told to leave alone. Look at the map. We're in the Bay of Bengal, far from crowded tourist routes, yet this tiny dot pulls global curiosity. And around it, there's an invisible boundary. Cross it, and you're not just trespassing, you're risking someone's survival. From a distance, it looks peaceful. Empty sand, dense jungle, no buildings, no signs, just a home that says stop. That stop is enforced. Patrols watch from afar, not to invade, but to keep outsiders from turning curiosity into harm. Here's the twist. The biggest threat isn't arrows or storms. It's something invisible you might carry without knowing. So tonight, we're not chasing a secret, we're uncovering a reason, and it leads to a story that divides people fast. To understand the rule, start with the setting, the Bay of Bengal. Huge, quiet, and surprisingly empty once you leave shipping lanes. In that water sits India's Andaman and Nicobar region, a scattered chain of islands that feels closer to Southeast Asia than Mumbai. From above, it looks like paradise, green dots floating in electric blue, yet some dots are worlds apart in access and history. This is where most journeys begin. Harbors, small boats, working mornings, an island life that moves on without headlines. And the further you go, the more the ocean takes over. Spray, wind, distance, until nearby stops meaning reachable. Then you see it. Coral reefs like a natural fence, shallow water that can shred hulls and turn a landing into a gamble. Here's your first hook. Even geography is telling you, don't come closer, and the law will soon say it louder. Beyond that reef sits North Sentinel, an empty beach from our angle, dense jungle behind it, and no invitation anywhere. What we know comes mostly from distance, satellite images, brief sightings, and careful observation, because contact itself changes the story. Even estimates vary, and that uncertainty is the point. This island isn't a destination, it's a decision. So authorities watch from afar, scanning the horizon, not to meet anyone, but to keep everyone separated on purpose. Out here, buffer isn't a metaphor. It's space measured in water, patrol routes, and a line you don't cross. Meanwhile, nearby islands live loudly. Markets, crafts, families, reminding us the region isn't a mystery, just this one shore. And that contrast matters. In one place, tourism thrives. In another, the most respectful act is staying away. Now for the tease. The ban isn't just about distance, it's about drawing an official circle in the ocean. This isn't a rumor or a scary story. It's policy, paperwork, enforcement, and a rule designed to prevent real harm. The backbone is law, dating back decades, restricting access to protected tribal areas, because contact can change everything, fast. You can feel the tone in how officials treat it. Quiet, procedural, serious, like a place the public shouldn't discover. On maps, the island and the water around it are treated as a reserve, space set aside for someone else's life. And that space isn't symbolic, it's a buffer zone, an invisible ring meant to keep distance doing the protecting. Enforcement looks calm, not cinematic. Briefings, routes, and professionals whose job is to keep curiosity from turning into contact. This is where the story flips, because the law isn't guarding a secret, it's guarding people from us. Even the warnings are simple. Don't enter, don't land, don't test it. There's nothing here for tourism to win. And yes, permissions exist in theory, but in practice, this is one of the rare places where no means no. There's even a protocol for moving around the island, routes designed to avoid getting too close, even from the sea. Inside patrol boats, it's radios and routine, watching waters, tracking movement, preventing one reckless moment from becoming a disaster. Nature helps too. Reefs, weather, and distance make access difficult, but the real barrier is still human restraint. Because history has taught a brutal lesson. Sometimes contact isn't curiosity. Sometimes it's a biological weapon. So we're saying it clearly. This episode is not a guide. It's the opposite, an explanation of why you shouldn't go. From far away, the shore looks empty, but the whole point is that it isn't empty. It's simply not ours. And in the next part, we'll ask the hardest question. If you can't go there, why do people still try? Online, North Sentinel gets sold like a horror trailer. Dangerous, savage, violent. It's clickable, and it's deeply misleading. Pop culture loves a jungle monster story, but real life isn't a movie, and fear isn't the same as truth. From offshore, what you actually see is quiet. Sand, trees, and distance, like a home with a locked gate. And we're part of the problem. We frame everything as content, forgetting that someone else's life isn't our adventure. Imagine you're on that shore. A strange boat appears. You don't know intentions, germs, or what comes next. This is their home, forest, wind, salt air, built for survival, not for visitors, not for headlines. Here's the twist. What looks like hostility from far away often reads like basic self-defense up close. The people enforcing the boundary aren't trying to make contact. They're trying to stop contact, because contact changes everything. So when you hear "they attacked," remember the context. An uninvited landing is an intrusion anywhere on Earth. We rarely see daily life there, and we shouldn't pretend we do. But humans everywhere do the same basics: build, make, adapt. Some researchers suggest they fish and travel near shore, quiet routines that don't need our cameras to be real. Even the reef acts like a wall, nature's reminder that this place isn't meant to be casually reached. The myth says primitive violence. The reality is simpler. People protecting territory, privacy, and survival, like any community would. Many advocates argue this is voluntary isolation, a choice that deserves respect, not a mystery to solve for entertainment. And that means accepting a hard truth. Our knowledge has limits here, and pushing past them can cause harm. Because the real danger isn't arrows, it's something you might not even feel: a virus, a cough, a handshake. A common illness to us could be catastrophic to them. That risk is why no contact exists in the first place. So the ocean stays quiet, and the rule stays firm. Distance is protection, even when curiosity screams for answers. Sometimes the most powerful action is turning away, choosing restraint over the story you want to film. And next, we face the question: if the rule is clear, why do some outsiders still try anyway? The real danger isn't dramatic. It's invisible. Tiny particles in the air that can travel farther than any boat. On a normal trip, we touch rails, share space, pass germs around without thinking. That's everyday life for us. But for an isolated community, everyday diseases can be a shock to the immune system, fast, unfair, and irreversible. Some researchers suggest isolation can mean lower exposure to common viruses, which makes first contact especially risky. Now picture the contrast: crowded ferries, busy ports, hundreds of tiny interactions, then one uninvited landing on one beach. Here's the nightmare twist: your harmless cold could be more dangerous than any weapon they could ever raise. This is why history matters. Across the world, when isolated groups met outsiders, sickness often followed before trust ever could. And it's not only disease. Curiosity creates markets, illegal tours, bragging rights, and content that treats humans like a mystery box. Even offshore, outside pressure exists: fishing, poaching, and people who see protected waters as opportunity, not responsibility. So the rule becomes a shield, backed by patrols, reefs, and waves that remind you this place was never built for visitors. Because the cost isn't paid by the traveler, it's paid by the people who never asked to be part of our story. That's the core weirdness, a forbidden island where the moral win is doing nothing, leaving it untouched. And still, some outsiders try anyway. In 2018, one attempt forced the whole world to argue about protection. So next, we go to the real case: what happened, why it happened, and what it reveals about us, not them. Standing back, ask yourself, who is this rule really protecting? The island or the rest of us from our own curiosity?
This is the part people can't stop replaying. The moments when outsiders ignored the rule and real consequences followed in silence. Let's stay factual and careful. No guides, no routes, just the story of what happened when curiosity crossed the line. In 2018, headlines exploded about an American who tried to reach North Sentinel to make contact for religious reasons. From offshore, the island looks calm, but the boundary is real, and it exists to prevent harm, especially biological harm. The case became personal, fast. Belief, risk, and a single decision made on a dark boat far from help. Then the ocean swallowed the details. What remained was a global argument about responsibility, ethics, and consequences. And here's the hard truth: one person's mission can become another people's disaster without anyone intending it. Afterward, authorities treated it like a serious incident because this isn't tourism drama, it's a protected human community. Maps and reports turned into evidence, not where to go, but why the rule exists and why it's enforced. The debate split instantly. Some focused on faith, others on safety, and many on the right to stay uncontacted. At the center was a simple idea: contact carries risk, even when you think you're bringing something good. So the story doesn't end on the beach. It spreads into headlines, comment sections, and what we normalize online. Then we rewind to 2004 because a tsunami tested the island and the world tried to check on survivors. After the Indian Ocean tsunami, the question wasn't curiosity, it was, are they alive and do they need help? Recon flights went up. From the air, the island stayed distant, no landing, no contact, just observation. Some footage showed people on the beach signaling, "Stay away," a boundary message delivered without words. Even that moment became a lesson. Survival doesn't always mean welcome. Sometimes it means don't change us. Much of what we know comes from distance: satellite images, brief sightings, careful restraint, and lots of unknowns. And still, they endured. The sea calmed, the jungle stayed, and the world backed off, at least for a while. But the cycle returned, because in the age of content, some people chase the forbidden for views. In more recent years, reports have surfaced of outsiders detained for trying to film or approach restricted areas near the island. When cameras become trophies, the ethics collapse. Content can create pressure to do reckless things for attention. Online, the story turns into a fight: hot takes, blame, memes, while the people most affected get no voice. And that's the real conflict. It's not them versus us, it's our curiosity versus our responsibility. So we pause here on purpose. The ocean looks empty, but the stakes are crowded with consequences. The patrol boats turning away might be the most important footage, proof that restraint can be an action. Here's the line for us, too: don't encourage it, don't share how-to content, and don't reward boundary breaking. Because every time someone tries, the risk resets: disease, violence, exploitation, and trauma on both sides. And next, we face the big debate: is hands-off protection, or is it a complicated kind of control?
This is where the story gets uncomfortable, because the island isn't just mysterious, it's a mirror for our choices. On one side is protection, on the other is control, and the line between them can feel thin and slippery. How far is watching from afar before it becomes surveillance? Drones overhead, lenses zooming in, curiosity turned into intrusion. Even if you mean well, technology can cross a boundary without a single footprint. Sometimes restraint is the only ethical tool. Meanwhile, the outside world demands answers. Reporters, documentaries, and strangers online all ask the same thing: what's there? And social media turns that question into fuel. Likes, shares, and hot takes that travel faster than any boat. Here's your challenge. Every time you share forbidden content, you might be paying someone else's safety for your curiosity. Then there's enforcement. Protected waters still attract illegal fishing and opportunists who don't care about ethics at all. So patrols keep moving, quiet, steady, routine, because hands-off still takes work, money, and constant attention. And nearby communities live real lives here. For local fishermen, these waters aren't a mystery, they're livelihood. The buffer zone becomes a compromise, distance as protection, but it also raises a hard question: who gets to decide it? Advocates argue the core right is simple. Voluntary isolation should be respected, even when we hate not knowing. But respect can mean two opposite things: looking away completely or guarding the boundaries so no one else crosses it. Now add the modern problem: content. The forbidden is profitable, and the algorithm rewards people who push limits. A vlogger doesn't have to be evil to do harm. Sometimes the pressure is just get the shot, be first. And the reward system doesn't care about consequences. It only cares that the clip performs. So we slow down here on purpose, because the ethical answer isn't always action, it's often patience. Even binoculars carry a question. Are we witnessing to protect or staring because we feel entitled to see? From the docks, officers treat this like real work, not drama, because one mistake can trigger violence, disease, or exploitation. And it costs. Fuel, time, patrols, paperwork. Distance isn't free when you're trying to keep everyone safe. Here's the hardest part. Sometimes the most respectful truth is admitting we don't know and we shouldn't force it. So we end this section with restraint. Not because the story is boring, because the lesson is bigger than the mystery. After all the noise, it comes back to quiet water. The strangest lesson here isn't mystery, it's restraint. On a map, it's just a dot, but around that dot, we've drawn something rare, a boundary meant to protect. A circle in the ocean that says, not yours. Not because it's empty, because it's someone else's home. And the strongest action we see is a boat turning away. In a world of access, choosing no is power. Because the biggest threat isn't what we imagine, it's what we carry: breath, bacteria, viruses, and consequences. Nearby, life is loud and ordinary. Families, beaches, sunsets. The region isn't forbidden, only one shoreline is. People work these islands every day: food, boats, routines, while one place stays closed, by design, for survival. So here's the question. When you're curious, do you push closer, or do you prove respect by stopping? This story isn't a myth to solve. It's a real policy shaped by real risks, and it asks us to grow up. Because the cost isn't paid by the traveler chasing a clip, it's paid by the people who never invited us. Sometimes the most respectful thing we can do is not touch, and that might be the hardest travel lesson. Now I want your take. If a community chooses isolation, do we ever have the right to reach them? If you want more true stories from the strangest places on Earth, like, subscribe, and join us on Strange Earth Diaries. Next time, we'll go somewhere you can visit, but you might wish you hadn't. Trust me, it gets dark. And one last thing, keep it respectful in the comments. This might be the most divided conversation we've had yet. See you in the next diary, where the world is strange, but the choices we make are even stranger.